Hey class, so this is the example problems for the first lesson of probability about sample spaces. So I'm just going to go through and show you real quick how to type these in there. So it is in a doc instead of a slide this time because there's nothing you need to graph, so doc was more convenient. So in the first problem, it's asking for the sample space. You just list the elements. So you're just going to type them in here. Use set notation, it says, so put the little curly bracket. That is a key on your keyboard. Just look for it. It's a shift straight bracket to the right of P. The suits in a deck of cards. So what are they? Well, there's hearts, spades, diamonds, and then this last one has many names, but proper name is clubs. So that's my sample space. That's it. And there's 4 different outcomes from pulling one of these. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 different outcomes you could have from one event in this sample space. The digits in the number 1, 3, 4, 3, 0. So they're numbers. You don't have to put them in order. 1, 3, 4, 0. Don't duplicate. So it had 3 twice, but it doesn't mean that you put it twice in your sample space. You only list it once. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different possibilities here. Now, remember, uniform means that everything in there has the same probability of happening. Well, there's the same number of hearts, spades, diamonds, and clubs. So yeah, that's uniform. So what you can do is you can just highlight that. There's a little highlighter button. I like yellow. Actually, I really don't like yellow, but it's easy to see. Now, number 2 right here, you notice that there's 2 3s to choose from. So there is more 3s. There's a higher probability of 3 happening than the other ones. So this is not uniform. All right. So here's another way you might see something. Just determine sample spaces. What are the possibilities here? Well, you can get a B, an L, or an A. Blah. Just says with the elements, set notation, that's it. Contents on a bar graph. So what's this talking about? Asia, South America, and Africa. And that's it. So I'm just typing in this row beneath each of these pictures. That way it's easy to follow which one goes with what. This one doesn't have a table in it, so you just type the text underneath it. Jeff is told to list a sample space for the marble bag, which contains 3 blue and 2 red. He lists blue and red as a sample space, and it says they are equally likely because you can either get blue or red. Is this correct? And explain. His sample space is correct. Yes. Yes. There's just blue and red. Are they equally likely? No, it's not uniform. There's 3 blues and 2 reds. No, there is a higher probability of getting blue than red since there are more blues. Something to that effect. Doesn't need to be nice and easy. And now here's the fun one. You have to draw a tree diagram. So I'm going to put this on a new page, get us lots of nice space. Mine is flipping a coin 3 times. Yours is going to be extremely similar with children. No, you're not going to flip the children. So what you need to do is you're going to insert a drawing for this, because there's not a nice, neat, just draw it on here. You have to actually draw it in a drawing. So we're going to insert drawing new. So now, you know what the basic tree diagram looks like. You got a bunch of sticks. So what are we doing? We're flipping a coin 3 times. So I'm just going to click this little line, and I'm going to flip the coin 3 times. So it's either going to be heads or tails the first time, right? Heads, tails. But then it's either going to be heads or tails on here. This is terrible. Let me move this down a little bit. So you can move it, you know, highlight it, move it around, do whatever you need to do. Make it smaller even. I'll stick it right there. That should be good. That should be enough room. So, and you can also put text. So let's say this is heads, and this is tails. Then we're flipping it 3 times. So I'm gonna flip it again. Again, it might not look perfect. That's okay. Just play around with it. See, it's trying to connect to that text box. If it does, that's fine. You can move it in a minute, or you don't even have to. Some move it down there. Something like that's good. Move it down there. And again, you know, you can shift arrow key to make it a little nicer. Doesn't need to be perfect at all. But this one's kind of tall, so I'm gonna do this. So after you draw the line, you can kind of edit it if you need to. So this is a head. Oops, I have to draw the text box first. Head, tails. And I'm gonna duplicate that. So this is my first flip, could be a heads or tails. Second flip could be heads or tails. Third flip could be heads or tails. So again, I'm gonna move these around. I might just copy and paste this whole thing in a minute. Stick it on the bottom. You are on a computer, so copy paste is your friend. So this could be a head, or this could be a tail. Not see, there's two. I'm gonna stick it down there. Stick you over here. And let's see if I can nicely select this stuff right here. Copy. I wonder if there's a grouping button. I bet there is. I'm gonna right click and let's see. Oops, I undid it. No, doesn't have it. Can I group here? Sorry. As you can see, I've never done this before. But I can paste and then just move it. If that works. Delete this line. So it automatically groups it whenever you paste it. So that's good. And I delete that. So now let's look and see what I did. So I got heads, could be a heads or tails. If I got heads again, it could be a heads or tails. That's 1, 2, 3 flips. If I did heads and then I got a tails, it could be heads or tails. Now I need this whole thing down here basically. So I'm gonna copy and paste it again. So I'm gonna have a little extra, a lot extra actually. Can I do that? No. So copy paste, and I actually just need to kind of, hey, oh, there it goes, a little bit of lag there. So that's what I really want there. So I'm gonna have to fix it a little bit in a minute. Get rid of this extra stuff. And yeah, you see I kind of have these two things right next to each other. It's not gonna work. I need to move this T up here if I can. No, I'll just delete it. Okay. So I delete the H. So this line right here is a T. And let me kind of point this down a little bit so it's easier to not get mixed up. So again, doesn't need to be perfect. Mine looks terrible. And that's okay. But now we have our tree diagram. We get heads, heads, heads. We get heads, heads, tails. We get heads, tails, heads. We get heads, tails, tails. Or we could get tails, heads, heads, tails, heads, tails, 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 heads, tails, tails, tails. That's it. That's a tree diagram. Looks horrible, but what I got. save and close. Don't forget to save it. And it's going to pop it right there. That'll work for me. And then I'm going to kind of scoot it down here a little bit. Don't know why it's in the middle of that. Maybe I can move it over. And up, get in there. There we go. Now, I guess I clicked in here earlier. Make sure you're clicked underneath this thing instead, so it doesn't split up your thing, look all crazy. So the sample size, that would be 8. There's 8 different possibilities here. You can get heads, 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 tails, heads, tails, heads, heads, tails, tails. That's 4 for that heads and 4 for that tails, so that's 8. So I'm just gonna, in here, stick an 8. Now, uniform or not uniform? That's the question. So it depends on if you consider order mattering or not. I consider order mattering, because if you have a sister that's older than a brother, that's different than a brother that's older than a sister to me. So I'm gonna call this uniform, just like yours would be uniform. So each of these has an equally likely chance of occurring. Each coin flip is a 50% chance of happening, and then each one of these has a 1/8 chance of happening. And that's it.